Okay.
Okay. Hi.
Hey, Maria, how are you? So nice to see you.
I am great. It's so nice to see you too. And for everybody who is going to watch this video, I want to introduce my friend Rama, who is a success coach for women entrepreneurs. Would that be a good way to introduce?
Absolutely, that's great. I like to say that I help women create a life that they love, where they can have a big business and a happy family and time for themselves without guilt, apology, or sacrifice. So basically, a life that they don't need a vacation from. Not that I
Oh.
have anything against vacations. Vacations are great when we can get them, right?
Oh wow, I want some of that. Like just I want some of that. Um, awesome. So, the reason I invited you to have this interview with me and for the audience of my group Clean Slate on Facebook, and then for everybody else who will watch it on YouTube or my general Facebook eventually,
Mhm.
is because you have been doing workshops on vision boarding. And because of this theme of clean slate to create, yes, we need to declutter and move things out of our way, from our physical, emotional, and mental space in order to create something. But there comes a moment when we are like, okay, there's an empty canvas to create on. And one way to grapple with that question is to do vision boarding, which you have been doing for quite some time. So can you
Many
tell me a
years.
little bit about how you got into that and what you actually do?
Great, thank you. Yes. So I made my first vision board about 20 years ago. I was at a retreat with a bunch of people, and we'd all had lunch together. I was like, okay, this afternoon we're doing vision boards, and there was a bunch of poster boards and piles of magazines and glue sticks and whatever. We all just dived in and started cutting things out, right? But there was no real instruction about what a vision board was beyond create a vision for what you want to create, and that was it. It was like I found myself at that time looking at other people's boards and saying, oh, they're putting something about health, so I should. Oh, they're putting something about where they live, so I should. But I didn't really have any idea about what this was about. I was just beginning to hear about the law of attraction and manifestation, and that this was a way to get stuff out on paper. And so I jumped in with gleeful abandon like everybody else did, and we made a board, and I carried it on planes and trains to get it home, put it on my dresser in my bedroom. A couple of days later it disappeared behind the dresser. I never saw it again, right? So it ended up being just a crafting project. And I knew that there must be more to it than that. And so I started researching. So I started, Abraham Hicks was a big part of my learning. And so I've been doing that work for over 20 years on the law of attraction. So between doing that and between learning about personal development, brain science, and how the brain works, how the brain evolved, then I sort of started tying these things together. One of the things that is one of my superpowers, I guess, is I assimilate information from lots of different places and see connections that people don't see. This is something that I learned from my human design. And so what I started seeing is connections about how all of this stuff worked together and how you could use it as a tool to work, to create what you want to create. So as well as helping you to create clarity, it also helps you to create a practice. Because that's the thing I think that people do often with vision boards is that they treat it like a crafting project. It does sometimes help you to reveal desires, and it's like, okay, great, but it tends to be, in my experience anyway, a lot of the times at the surface level. So it's about creating stuff. And it's not that there's anything wrong with stuff. Stuff is fun. But I think when you take the time to actually go deeper and see what will having this stuff, what does it mean to me? What meaning am I attaching to this? That's when you get the opportunity to really start creating from a place of feeling and emotion and true desire rather than stuff. And I think it just makes a difference.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, what I hear in what you're saying is that you took this vision boarding, I guess, idea, right? That it is like just a crafty thing to do, I guess. and you turned it into a tool. So can you just say, because this is intriguing to me, like how do you have your clients or people who attend your workshops, how do you have them, like, how do they use their vision board as a tool? Because it is, for a lot of people, it just, I actually even have my own, which I can show just really briefly, right?
Sure.
Which I've created a while ago, but it is, for me, that was just like a spontaneous kind of like, let me see how things flow. And I would look at it a little bit, and then it is a little bit like you said, like it falls back behind behind the armor
somewhere. Yeah, exactly.
And then you don't see it anymore. So I'm really interested in like that aspect of how you turn your vision board into a tool. So can you say just a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so in my workshops, what I teach is it's a 90-minute workshop. And so the first half an hour or so is really about the brain science, about how your brain evolved and what the different parts of your brain, how they work, how they're used, and then how you can tap into those different places with your vision board. So how the science behind how it works with your brain chemistry. And then in addition to that, I talk about, we do some exercises, like some assessments. Where are you now in life? Where are you in these different areas? Where do you want to be? So it kind of gets your logical brain on board. And then after that, what we talk about is, what do you do with it afterwards? So there's a whole piece on how you create a practice, because that's the thing. It isn't a once and done thing. If you want to use it, if you want to make it effective, if you want your vision board to work for you, then you've got to work with it. And so that involves setting up a practice, daily habits, basically, of being with your board and tapping into the visualization. In the workshop, we do a visualization which helps you get clarity around what it is you want to create. And then daily, you go back to remembering what that was in pieces of your board, so that you can focus on one thing. Either a piece of it or a feeling that you want to generate that came up for you in the visualization, that you're remembering, re-tapping into, re-visualizing, so that you can connect with it and bring in that manifestation from that feeling place.
Yeah, that's really great. I love it. I mean, it's visioning or vision boarding is a great tool, and it can be used many different ways. I have, as a coach myself, like I have in the past asked clients to create a vision of, not actually a vision, but just an expression, I guess, of some area of their life that they really don't have a lot of words for, to just see what's subconsciously there. And one of the things that I also notice when people do create vision boards, how, if they want to be in a relationship, that kind of takes it takes a prevalence on the board itself. Like it becomes all about love and hearts and couples and all of that. And it lacks balance. So, for me, because I'm not skilled in vision boarding and I haven't done the research and put in the time and effort and energy that you did, I just kind of use it as a feng shui bagua and keep putting,
and that's great.
Relationship stuff in one corner, in a relationship corner, money stuff in that corner. And that's kind of how I keep myself on track and balance, so that I have wealth, health, children, creativity, and all of that balance. So tell me more about how the workshop goes. Like you said, like 30 minutes you use to just tap into the brain science and how the brain works, and you do the visioning. And then do people have enough time to, go ahead.
They don't usually make the board on, this is the instructional piece, because the board making piece to me is like the smallest piece, if you like, of the actual making the board, because the theory, the understanding why you're making it, how you're making it, getting in touch with your intentions for making it, to me is the most important part. And that's the piece that other people don't teach. Like I said, most people just say, here's the boards and the magazines, jump in, create something, and that's great. But it's like, it's not, to me, it doesn't tap into the intentionality of the different areas of life that you might want to tap into. And you gather information so that you can make decisions. And so we go through an assessment of different areas of your life to say, where are you now? What do you want to work on? And also the vision itself could be for the next 3 months, and then you do this again. It could be for the year. It could be for the next 5 years. So it depends on where you are in what's drawing your attention. And like you say, the balance piece comes, I think, after you, if you do it more regularly than if you just do it once. For me anyway, so it's like, if I, like you say, if the thing that's prevalent for me right now is relationships and I can't think about anything else but relationships, it doesn't mean that I do my board once and relationships is the only thing I put on it. But it could be that I put relationship on it and I plan to work on that for this season, for the next 3 months. And then after that, I'll do it again and say, what's prevalent for me now? You know, the relationship, something may or may not have resolved or changed. And so I think that's the other part of vision board. Sometimes people say, oh, it's an annual vision board thing. It happens once. Once I've done it, you know, I'm good. And that's what I'm going to do this year. And you can use it like that, but allow yourself the flexibility to change and add to that.
Mm. Mm. So can you say more about like how you go from that, like just to give me an example, I guess, of a vision board working for you. And I know you already have yours as well to show. So I don't know if you want to show it and use that as an example, but like
Sure.
just share about like how something either got manifested or how you created it, or what you learned out of doing it, and just give us an example, because I'm sure you have many.
Hundreds of stories to share. So once I started getting more intentional about vision boards, and I was still taking vision board workshops rather than teaching them at the time in the early years, I remember going to a vision board workshop, and I kept being drawn to pictures of dining tables, right? I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in New York. I was single. And I'm like, okay, so dining tables, like I have, you know, 3 different houses like with dining tables, and I have one like an outdoor dining table. And I'm like, okay, universe, what are you trying to tell me? Like, what have I got dining tables here? Like, I've got a dining table in my apartment. I don't need another one. Like, what's this about? So when I went into that, like I said, that underneath level, it's like, okay, what is this? And I went in and sort of sat at the table in my mind's eye, you know, went in and kind of was like, okay, so here I am sitting at one of these tables, what's around me and who's around me? And so when I looked at it from that perspective, what I realized is that my truest heart's desire at that point was that what I wanted was to be sitting around a table in a home with my family. And so what I was really wanting to create next was family, it wasn't about the stuff. And like I said, it's not that there's anything wrong with the stuff, but for me to get so many, like I kept being drawn to those kind of pictures, and I was like, what is this? Like, what's being asked of me? What's being revealed here?
Oh, wow, that's a great example. Do you have more examples? I love
Well,
that
that
example.
one, I guess, is just the beginning of a longer story. But at that point, like I said, I was single living in New York, and I was kind of like, you know what? Okay, if I wanted to create a family, what would that look like? And so instead of going to the obvious, I need to be in a relationship, that's not where this took me. Where this took me was, okay, I need to buy a house, right? I need to be outside. You know, at the time I was thinking it would be probably in Manhattan, but I just thought, you know, I lived in a rent stabilized apartment at the time for 10 years. I was very lucky. And I was kind of like, you know what, I need to buy a house that's outside of Manhattan, but still commutable, right, to where I worked. And so I started looking at houses, and over a couple of years, I think I went to contract on 6 or 7 houses over the time, and they fell through for one reason or the inspection didn't work out, or, you know, different weird, you wouldn't believe the reasons, an oil tank thing, whatever, craziness. Eventually, I walked into this house, and I walked in, I remember looking around, it's like I liked some of the other houses, and I remember intellectually kind of thinking in those other houses, oh, this could work for me. Yeah, I can see this here. I can see myself here. But in this last house, I walked in and I just had this like calm settle over me. And I was kind of like, this is my house. And I'd been outbid on things before in this particular town. And I was like, you know what? Universe, if it's meant to be mine, it will be. Here's the number I'm going to put into my bid. And we put it in. And of course, the house was mine, right? It was like, okay, it's a bigger house than I ever intended to get. But, you know, this is where I've followed my guidance. So this is where I've ended up. The next door neighbor in that house was a Broadway musician who introduced me to his friend, who is now my husband.
Wow.
And so I never would have expected that. So it's like, that's part of the you know, the magic of manifestation, if you allow it, that it's like you tap into the energy that holds the universe in place. You know, it's like, and if you look at it from that way, it's so much more than a crafting project. Right. But in that vision board is when the seeds were planted for what my truest desire was being revealed, what was being called, you know, from me. And so because I followed then those breadcrumbs, that's where I ended up. You know, now did it, you know, it wasn't like a 3-month thing. Obviously it was a longer journey than that. But it's okay, because it ended up taking me to where I really truly wanted to be.
Exactly.
Rather than just the short-term, you know, the short-term gain of what it was that I thought I wanted with the stuff.
Exactly.
And like I said, it doesn't matter where you are, where you're coming at this from. It's just that Einstein has a quote, it's one of my favorite quotes, that says there's 2 ways to look at the world. One is as if nothing is a miracle, and the other is as if everything is a miracle. And that's one of my favorite quotes. And so that's the way I look at this. Is like, if you look for the magic, it's there, if you choose to see it that way. Now, some people will dismiss these things as, oh, that's a nice story. Oh, that just fell into place. Oh, how lucky. Like it just happened. But I choose to look at it. I knew that I planted the seeds for that journey when I did that vision board. And all of that whole thing started from that for me.
I hear it. And you know, what I also hear in you talking about your vision boarding is the process of surrendering and trusting the process, right? Like, so it's not so much about, oh, I want what I want and I want it now, you know, it's more about the discovery of what's there, tapping underneath that, and then surrendering to any which way it will arrive. So I hear just really the bigger word, and you said like you make connections, right? And there's a law of attraction behind you and all this other work in neuroscience and consciousness training and all of that is driving this even simple process of vision boarding, but adding all these elements to it to really create the life that we want. How did you say it? The women, can you say it again?
I help women create a life they don't need a vacation from, right? A life they love. Where they can have the things that they want. And I think, like, just fundamentally, one of the things that, you know, women, we have a lot of pressure put on us to have all of it all of the time. And I think we can actually release ourselves from that in some ways if we just say, you know what, this is the thing that I'm working on now. This is the thing I'm working on next. I don't have to have it all this second. Because I always say to my clients as well, it's like, even if everything you wanted, you know, you opened your front door and there it was tomorrow, you wouldn't know what to do with it. You know, it's like even Christmas morning for my daughter just happened. You know, she had so much stuff, she doesn't know what to start playing with.
Same thing happened in my house.
Whereas if you have things in the small pieces, you are growing and evolving into the person who can have that thing and be with that thing and continue to grow into the next thing. We're always evolving. And I think it's always a journey. And if we look at it that way and look for enjoying the journey and knowing that as you evolve, those things that you are desiring will come to you. As you evolve into the person who can accept those things.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Is just a little bit more about the workshop, because I know it's around the corner, right? Like it's just happening this, and I'm sure you'll have more, right? For anyone who watches this video later, I'll post your website below so they can find out when you have the next one. But I know that the New Year's one, the 2021, which I'm sure people are so excited about, is around the corner. Here's what I wanted to ask you. Is your workshop mostly for women or only for women, or is it just?
I usually work with women. I do sometimes work with couples too. And so I have, you know, I have done workshops where my clients have brought their partner so they can do the creation stuff together. But my business generally is supporting women entrepreneurs. I think there's just conversations that we have as women that we feel safer to have in environments where there's only women. So I usually say it's women and a few very special men.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So the workshop is coming on this Saturday. So I'll put the information
Saturday,
below.
January the 2nd, it's at noon. It's going to be about 90 minutes, and of course it'll be recorded and all of that stuff. And so it's something that you'll be able to, listen to again and, go back to. Especially the visualization, I think, is things that people have always wanted to be able to go back and have. So I want to make sure that that's going to be something that they can have afterwards.
Perfect. Awesome. And then they can use it throughout the year, I guess, to recreate the vision boarding. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I love your perspective and how you took many tools that you have. It's probably not all of them, but many tools that you have and incorporated them into this, just the how of vision boarding, so that can become not like a crafting project, but something that people can use as a tool and look at what they're desiring to create and surrendering to the process.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for asking me, because it's a topic I could talk about for days. It's just one of those things that covers everything. So yeah, thank you so much. And I appreciate you sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll send all the information will be in below, and thank you so much.
Thank you too. Bye now.